Do you have allergies, asthma, headaches, brain fog, hormone issues? Well, your clean home might be to blame. I'll explain on today's episode of Unhindered. A clean home. It's so nice, at least for the 5 minutes that it actually stays clean. And how about that clean home smell?
Mr. Clean has captured the sun with a fresh, clean fragrance.
He's sunshine fresh, Mr. Clean.
For a fragrance fresh as sunshine everywhere you clean.
Clean never smelled this fresh before.
Mr. Clean has captured the sun to make everything you clean smell sunshine fresh.
New Doe Mop with Dirty Water Again Pine Sol Cleaner. The power of Pine Sol, the smell of clean.
Have you smelled Clorox bleach lately?
Smells like a cool, clean ocean breeze.
Fresh, fresh, so fresh.
Smells like the sunshine through the trees.
Fresh, fresh, so fresh.
Fresh scent Clorox bleach.
Okay, someone just did laundry.
No, it's been like a week, but I add Downy Light scent boosters so the freshness really lasts.
My clothes look fresh, but I need them to smell fresh too. That's why I add Downy Unstoppables to my wash. Now I'll be smelling fresh all day long.
Let's wash it with Febreze.
For all the things you can't wash, use Febreze Fabric Refresher.
Whoa.
Hey, Mrs. Walker.
Hey, it smells nice in here.
What does it mean for something to smell clean? Are you smelling clean or are you smelling a fragrance? And if it's a fragrance, is it actually clean? Think of an air freshener. Does it even make sense? You buy something that puts out stuff. By definition, it's claiming to freshen the air, but the definition of fresh air is unpolluted air and natural surroundings. And air fresheners are putting chemicals into the air to change the smell of the air. They're not freshening it. They're polluting it, introducing a substance into the environment that has harmful effects is the definition of pollution. So air fresheners should be called air pollutants because that's what they're actually doing. 75% of Americans report that they use air fresheners in their homes. So most of us. And air fresheners emit over 100 different chemicals into the air, including volatile organic compounds, which are called VOCs, and semi-VOCs. Things like phthalates, if you've ever heard of that. We'll talk more about what phthalates are and the damage they do. But the chemicals that are emitted by air fresheners, one, when they're floating around, they can actually react with other things in your environment to create a chemical reaction and create a different chemical, such as formaldehyde in your air, in the air of your home, formaldehyde. Exposure to air fresheners, even at very low levels, has been linked to migraines, asthma, all kinds of respiratory illnesses, dermatitis, infant diarrhea, infant ear aches, neurological problems, ventricular fibrillation, just to name a few. And a lot of these chemicals are known carcinogens. A carcinogen is a cancer-causing agent. They're known to cause cancer. Many of the synthetic chemicals that they add to these fragrances to produce the smell we like are derived from petrochemicals. So petrochemicals are petroleum-based, so they come from petroleum, and they can be very harmful to human health. They are known to be endocrine disrupting chemicals, so EDCs, endocrine disrupting chemicals. Your endocrine system is the system in your body of all of your hormones, so they're disrupting your hormone health, which means they're going to interfere with your hormone functioning. And when your hormone functioning is interfered with, that does not just have to do with reproduction. That has to do with a whole host of things in your body. Your hormones control your thyroid and your adrenals and pretty much every function that your body does, your metabolism. And these petrochemicals are also known to increase your risk for cancer, like I said, increase your risk for cardiovascular disease, and they can also cause infertility. The University of Washington did a study on the top-selling laundry products and air fresheners, and they found that the products were emitting dozens of chemicals into the air, all of the products that were tested, every single one of them gave off at least one chemical that was regulated as toxic or hazardous under federal law. But none of those toxic chemicals were listed on the label. Why are they using these things that are harmful? Because they are low cost to the companies and they are easily available. Let's think of a few specific things that you might have in your home right now. Scented trash bags. So we're talking anything with fragrance. You're like, well, I put my trash in it. Well, it still matters. It makes sense, right? You want to cover the smell of your trash. We can look at, say, Glad trash bags. They offer different scents like cherry blossom, beachside breeze, or mountain air. All things that if you were there in the wild, they really are fresh smelling, wonderful smelling things in their natural surroundings. Cherry blossoms, the beach breeze, and the mountain air. But these products, these Glad scented trash bags, are actually engineered to fool you to thinking that you're smelling that. I mean, you know you're not, but your mind is like, oh, this smells so fresh. But is it fresh? We're often then touching those trash bags and then touching our food. How many times are you cooking in the kitchen and you put a trash bag in and it's scented, you smell it, your hands have touched the fragrance, and you go over and start touching your broccoli that you're chopping up. You're putting that fragrance then directly into your body. Again, that University of Washington study showed that scented products require a mixture of chemicals that are toxic. They're not required to list them on the label because they're only required to list ingredients of food on labels, not of other products. So know that the things that you're using may have very toxic chemicals that are on them and that they're emitting off into the air. Some of you ladies might use scented tampons. Again, makes sense. We want to cover any kind of smell, right? But they contain synthetic musks, which can disrupt your hormones. So they can cause thyroid problems, adrenal problems, reproductive problems, infertility. Scented tampons often contain phthalates. I mentioned that earlier when we were talking about air fresheners. And phthalates are endocrine disruptors. So they're messing up your hormones. They're interfering with your hormonal system, disrupting the balance that your body is trying to maintain. And they do this because the phthalates are actually increasing the production of certain hormones within your body and then decreasing the production of others. And so it interferes with hormone signaling inside your body. Some health issues that have been found to be associated with phthalates are fertility, early puberty, risk of low birth weight, although you should not be using scented tampons while you're pregnant, but phthalates are in other things as well. Obesity, diabetes, impacts to your immune system, cardiovascular health, respiratory problems, cancer, neurological problems, and behavioral problems. So all kinds of problems can be caused by phthalates, which are often in scented tampons. Also, scented tampons contain those volatile organic compounds, VOCs, which I also mentioned earlier. Many of them are known carcinogens. They are known to cause cancer. They can cause a wide variety of health problems, including eye, nose, and throat irritation, headaches, loss of coordination, nausea, damage to the liver, kidneys, and the central nervous system. So me look at my notes because I cannot remember all of the things that are affected, all the systems that are affected. It's so many. Some are also suspected or proven carcinogens, and VOCs are often components of petroleum fuels, hydraulic fluids, paint thinners, and dry cleaning agents. So you're sticking stuff that's used for paint thinning in your you-know-what. Not a very good idea. Scented tampons also often contain PFAs, which are linked to an increased risk of kidney cancer, high cholesterol, and a negative effect on your immune system. And other possible chemicals that might be in scented tampons are neurotoxins, asbestos, chlorine. And companies, again, are not required to disclose what chemicals they are using because they are considered trade secrets. Non-disclosure of fragrance chemicals is illegal, and significant differences exist between chemicals that they list and chemicals that they don't list. So they hold on to that trade secret if they're able to, regardless of whether it is causing you any harm. And they will say, oh, well, that's not directly proven that it causes the harm. And that's kind of how they sleep at night, how they justify what they're doing to us. You have to be your own advocate. So, for example, there was an air freshener that was marketed as organic and it had no other ingredient information. But when it was tested, it was found to be emitting 17 VOCs. 4 of them had already been classified as carcinogenic, hazardous air pollutants that had no safe threshold as far as the USA standards. They said there was no safe threshold. There was no amount that would be safe for the human body. And yet it was four of those were in this air freshener that was labeled organic. So do not let marketing fool you. If you see the word fragrance on anything, it is just a word that hides ingredients. It doesn't mean that one thing is in it. They added some fragrance. They did, but that fragrance is made up of multiple chemicals. There are up to 5,000 different chemicals that they can use to make fragrances. All right, now let's talk about the obvious thing when we talk about fragrance is perfume or cologne. Do you wear that? This image was taken from the Journal of Environmental Health Science and Engineering. And you can see that perfume or cologne has been linked to skin dermatitis, asthma, decreased fertility, breast cancer, thyroid disorder, prostate cancer, kidney cancer, and liver cancer. The University of Bergen in Norway also did a study. They studied 6,000 participants over 2 decades. And what they found in that study that is if those people had been exposed to spray cleaning products at least once per week, that they had a faster decline in lung function than those who had not been exposed to them. And professional cleaners had even more lung function issues. So the more you're exposed to cleaning products, the worse your lung health is going to be. They did not find the same results in men, but they also had a lot fewer male participants, and I don't think they had any males that were professional cleaners. So this is something that seems to affect women more, but that could just be that more women are using spray cleaning products more often than men are. Guys, we've fallen for this because of marketing. Marketing does a really, really good job. Basically, they wanted you to buy their product. So they wanted your grandma to buy the product. So they convinced grandma that the smell meant that it was clean. And then grandma passed it down to mom, and then mom passed it down to you. And it has become even associated in your brain with a smell that you enjoy, a smell that you remember, and a smell that feels clean to you because you've been convinced and brainwashed, if you will, to believe that it is.
Up you go, sweetie pie. Your shirt smells nice.
Nice.
April fresh. Laura? Laura, I can tell. You're using Downy.
Of course I use Downy, Mom. That's what you always used.
I know, but...
And I always liked the way my clothes smelled.
You never told me.
Well, that's why I use Downy. I feel how soft it gets things.
We don't want to believe what marketing is telling us. We don't want to be fooled by marketers. We want to believe truth. We want to walk in truth. We want to have an unhindered life. A life filled with asthma and allergies and hormone issues and obesity and infertility is not an unhindered life. That is a hindered life. So I know this episode is a little bit different in terms of topic than what you guys are used to hearing from me, but you will hear more of health-related things because that is what hinders us the most in some ways. I'm going to, in a future episode, share my personal story of how I came to be unhindered in the health area, how my eyes were open to things. Smell memories are stored in our limbic system. This is why we recognize a smell that we've smelled before and we're like, oh, that smells familiar. And we know that before we can even cognitively figure out, what does that remind me of? What does that smell remind me of? But your memory is pulling it forward as soon as it smells it. And the marketing companies know that smells tie us to things emotionally. Is there any part of you right now that if you think about, oh, I'd have to give up my scented trash bags, or I'd have to give up my Downy, or I'd have to give up my dryer sheets, or my Glade plugins, or my Febreze, or whatever it is, like if you think about giving any of those things up, is there a part of you that feels sad? Like, oh, I don't want to not have that in my life. That's because it is actually tied emotionally to a memory or a feeling. that doesn't mean it's good. The smell of cigarettes reminds me of my dad, but that doesn't mean I should be sitting around inhaling cigarette smoke because it reminds me of someone that's close to me. Our endocrine system is designed to keep our bodies in a state of homeostasis. This means that everything should always be balanced and it should always be kept in order. However, these ingredients that are in these fragrances, they have the power to stimulate neurons in your nasal passages. And then those send signals to your endocrine system to boost the production of certain hormones. And then this can cause excessive hormonal fluctuations and therefore disrupt the endocrine system and the balance that it's trying to uphold within your body. It can completely throw off your homeostasis, especially in the way that some of these synthetic chemicals, they actually mimic the hormones in your body, and they confuse and completely throw off your endocrine system, putting everything out of order, making everything lose balance. And like I said before, if you don't have good hormone health, you're going to have a disruption in many different areas of your body. Your hormones do not just regulate sex and fertility. Those are your reproductive hormones. You have a lot more hormones in your body besides estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Lots more. You would be shocked at the number of hormones that are in your body and how much they are related to every activity. For everything from blood pressure to metabolism to sleep to blood sugar to blood pressure, they regulate all of those things. So not only can all of those things be messed up, but hormone disruption can also lead to cancer and many other problems in your body. These chemicals can also affect your nervous system. Your nervous system is your brain, and then it goes down your spine and out to all the nerves that go out throughout your body. That's the whole thing is your nervous system. And the ingredients found in fragrances have been tied to toxicity in the nervous system, in your nerves. This can cause headaches, dizziness. It can make you have trouble concentrating. It can cause fatigue and memory issues. In babies, if you have a baby and you got a lot of fragrance in your house, especially if they're allergic to scents, inhaling these fragrances could cause death. It could cause death in a baby due to acute airway constriction. The electrical signals caused by these fragrances modulate the brain functions, including your memory, your thoughts, your emotions. So your mental health is also involved here. Many studies have shown that the inhalation of fragrances highly affects brain function, since the fragrance compounds can cross that blood-brain barrier. They have the ability to do that, and then they interact with the receptors in your central nervous system. It seems like we can name almost any health condition and relate it to chemicals. And then we can take those chemicals, and if we test fragrances, we can find those very chemicals in fragrances. That's scary. Good thing is there's an easy fix for it. But some of the problems caused, all the things I've gone over, but think obesity, okay? These fragrances often contain what's called xenoestrogens, chemicals that trick your body into responding as if it just received a hormone signal. And that can cause weight gain because your appetite, everything is related to your hormones. It can cause weight gain, it can cause you to form fat cells, and it can cause metabolic disorders such as diabetes. All of that is related to hormones. It can cause phthalates, can cause thyroid problems, decreased thyroid hormone production, which is going to give you fatigue and hair loss. So all kinds of symptoms associated with thyroid issues. The endocrine disruptors that are in fragrances can lead to polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, which then can cause infertility. The chemicals can cause low testosterone. It's been observed that phthalates decrease testosterone levels. They impair sexual behavior and they decrease sperm production, and sperm count in general. They've been tied to anxiety and depression. Again, the ingredients in fragrances mess up the hormones in your body, which are tied to your mental health, particularly anxiety and depression. They cause memory issues and brain fog, and they can also impact how bad your PMS is because it's messing with your hormones. So if you're like me, you like the smell of beachside breeze, mountain air, and cherry blossom, even if it is fake. I mean, I used to love like going into Cracker Barrel and getting all the candles and smelling all the different fragrances and 50 candles and all the different fragrance, or going to Yankee Candle and doing that. But I look back now and I'm kind of mortified because who knows what that did to me, because I'm not saying that smelling the candle at Cracker Barrel caused it, but I did have some major hormone issues and some major health problems that I went through at the age of 32. And I don't know how fragrance has contributed to that. I do know that I am living a pretty much fragrance-free life as much as possible now, and I feel great and I feel healthy. So I can testify to that. So what do we do instead? What are the things that we can do? Because we don't want to stop enjoying life, right? We're not just trying to take the joy out of everything. So one, I want you to truly freshen your air in your home. Actually have fresh air by getting rid of all of the fragrances in your home, in your car, in your workplace that are polluting your air. Buy fragrance free whenever possible. If you look at like the box of trash bags and things like that, you can get things that say fragrance free. I've heard that unscented is not the same thing as fragrance free. So I would look for fragrance free whenever possible. Next best would probably be unscented. Candles, use a beeswax candle instead of a regular scented candle. Beeswax candles, when they're burned, they create air cleaning negative ions, believe it or not. But those paraffin candles and soy candles, they actually emit the hazardous chemicals that we're talking about. Use essential oils. Essential oils are a safe way, from my understanding, to put smell good stuff in your air if you feel like you need that. Another thing you can do, especially in those cold months, is cook some cinnamon and orange peel on the stove. Boil some smell good stuff. Maybe have a little burner that you can put not fake cinnamon and orange peel, not stuff created with fragrance, but the real thing. Clean your air naturally with house plants. Houseplants actually are said to remove 80% of the VOCs that are in your air. So you're going to freshen your air just by having a plant in there. Some good plants are bromeliad, Dracena, I think that's how you say it, Dracaena, spider plant, or a jade plant. So having plants is very good. When possible, open your windows and let in the fresh air. You can keep an open container of baking soda like under the seat of your car, near a litter box, in the fridge, or even in your shoes to absorb odor. You can sprinkle it on your carpet and furniture and then vacuum it up. That's going to take away any odors. You can use white vinegar to neutralize odors, and you can buy enzyme-based drain cleaners instead of using bleach. And my final tip is there, and I'm not associated with them in any way, but there is a company called Norwex, and I've bought some of their products, and they have a chemical-free way to clean. So I would check out Norwex. If you know anybody who sells it, I would call them up and ask them some questions. Again, I'm not affiliated. I get no commission for saying that. I just think that their products are great. Overall, just pay attention. Pay attention to what you're believing because of marketing versus what's really true. Think. We got to think. If we want to live an unhindered life, we can't be like, oh, an air freshener, how great, it will freshen my air. No, because then you're only thinking this far. And I'm not trying to criticize any of you who have thought that. We've all been there. We've all thought that because we all fell for the marketing at one point. I'm just saying, let's develop better habits. Let's grow. Let's be better people who go, wait a minute, let me think about that for a second. Does that actually make sense? Is it actually freshening my air? And what is it putting into my air? And what do those things contain? And what can they do to me? And I know a lot of you aren't researchers, and that's fine. I'll do the research for you. But just start to think beyond the surface on things. That's what I'm asking of you as listeners of the Unhindered podcast. Have a great day.